Hello everybody, Demon Red Mist here. Apologies that I'm not live streaming this, but for some reason the YouTube connection isn't working on PlayStation at the moment. Now I've only got a bit of time before my dinner's ready, got about an hour before my dinner's ready, which is why I was wanting to jump on for this sort of practice tips, or should I say track tips, around Red Bull Ring Short, which is where the next Dynamic GT League race is going to be held. Yeah, it's an interesting track. Obviously, it only uses half of the Red Bull Ring. There's only what, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 corners, if that, 5 corners, 6 corners. But it is still quite a technical track, really. It's very easy, or will be very easy, to lose a ton of time around this particular circuit. Now, I did do a bit of practice yesterday, so I shall I'll show the setup that I'm running at the moment. I don't know if much is going to change on it, because I've been fairly happy with how it's been driving so far. But I'll show you the setup I'm running at the moment anyway. Brake balance at the moment is on 0. Probably going to move it to the front though. That's just one of those things I haven't got to test yet. I got too tired last night, so I may have a look at that on this video today. Okay, ride height is 80-80. Don't really want it much lower than that at this track, because there's some big nasty curbs that you need to be able to have your car cope with going over, if you happen to go over them. Natural frequency, I tried a few different settings on this, and for me 1.75 around this track worked quite nice. Anti-roll bar is at 7 and 4, and I'm probably not going to change that. I can't imagine I'm going to, but there we go. Damping ratio compression is 64 on the front and rear. Made a big difference to how the car turns, I found. Damping ratio on the rear, rebound is 90-90. I haven't adjusted that. Camber angle, I've got 1.8 on the front and 2.5 on the rear at this track. One of the reasons for that is that the front, if your camber angle is too aggressive, you don't actually get grip around the corner, the tyres just slide. So that's why I've reduced the front camber angle a bit. When I did that, the amount of grip I had increased dramatically. The rears I left at 2.5, that's the default setup for this particular car, and to be honest it feels alright. Rear tyre wear is not an issue anyway, and the rear tends to be going where I want it to. For the toe angle, a little bit lighter with the camber angle, I've gone out 0.15, so I've reduced that by 0.1, and again that's because I think the toe angle is too aggressive for this particular track and it was making the car slide. The rear, I've got to in 0.54. I did try a few different settings there, and 0.54 just gave a nice balance with the front end of the car. The differentials, I haven't touched these yet. There's a good chance that I won't. I may have a look at them at some point before the next race, but for anyone that may be using my setup, if they want my setup again closer to race day, all you got to do is ask. I'll give it you. Okay, the transmission, I defaulted the gearbox and then I reduced it to max speed auto 155. I did then adjust third gear and fourth gear. Did I adjust second gear? No. I adjusted third gear and fourth gear because of turn 2. Turn 2 is probably going to be, of the corners around this track, is probably one where people will gain or lose a lot of time, but it's a corner where people are going to go for mad overtakes, and it ain't going to be the best way around the corner. So I would beg that every driver realises that there's a particular line to take through the corner which is the fastest, and if you go chucking it up the inside thinking people have gone wide, you'll soon find that they haven't, and I'll show you that on my exploratory lap here. Okay, so the Red Bull Ring Short, like I say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 corners, but still quite technical. Usual rules apply in this car, to be honest, in that don't brake late, and don't brake too hard. and I'll show that for you hopefully. Just a reminder again, the radar to use during the race is this radar I'm showing on the screen now. If you do happen to be using this particular view, obviously you can still change the details in the middle of the dashboard, and that's the radar that you want. It gives a much more detailed example of where cars are around you. Okay, so the Red Bull Ring Shore, I must admit I love this track, and apologies if the car is louder than normal, because I'm recording this clip. The audio could be very, very different. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, even though there's only 6 corners, this track is still quite a technical circuit, and that's because, a little bit like Brands Hatch, it's all about your the minimum speed you take through a corner. And when I say minimum speed, you want the highest possible minimum speed. Sounds a bit fucked up, I know, but that's what I mean. So you can easily go too slow through a corner, but you can go for it faster by taking a different approach to a corner and having a higher minimum speed. Okay, turn 1. It's fairly easy to see. It's uphill braking zone. It can be an overtaking place, but it is a difficult one. Now, I do know that the DGT League admins don't want people running wide around turn 1. It is not part of the racetrack. I'm going to say something about the exit of the corner, which is from memory from last time we raced around this track, but the full version, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, admins, I think they said as long as you've got your right wheels on the right hand side of the yellow sausage curb on the exit of the corner, they're not going to be too worried. If you're going over the yellow sausage curb, you need to be working that problem out. Okay, turn 1. It is a heavy braking zone, however you want to be on the brakes and then off the brakes nice and early. And when I say nice and early, it's so that when you turn, you can just turn in and focus on the corner. If you're still braking when you're turning into this corner, you're going to kill your tyres, you're going to have a slow apex speed, and the car's not going to handle very nicely around there for you. Okay, on approach to turn 1, keep an eye on the marker boards. The first one is 200 meters, and as you get beyond that, if you can, move your left wheels onto the curb. By doing this, it gives you half a car's width of extra room at the side of the track, which means the exit of the corner is much more open to you. Okay, my braking point for this corner is around about 140 meters, so I'm literally passing the 150 marker board, or the white painted stripe, and then I'm hitting the brakes quite hard. But what I'm wanting to do is to try and be off the brakes somewhere around about the 50 meter marker board. So I want to have got all of my braking done in that kind of zone, so that as I go beyond the 50 meter marker board, all I have to focus on is my turning point, my apex point, and my power point. Don't turn in too soon for this corner. If you do, you will constantly run wide. So try and turn in as late as you can around about these tyre marks. It's always a good example of where to turn. So around about these tyre marks, and the aim would be to get your right hand wheel on or just over this yellow curb. So on this curb preferably, and by this point back on the power if you can. So basically you want to be exiting the corner like this, where you can see the whole corner, you can see where your car should be exiting the corner, and then let the car run all the way out wide up to the yellow sausage curb, but not beyond. So you do want to be exiting the corner around about this area. Now, something I just want to quickly try and show you, I mentioned about don't turn in too soon, and I want to sort of just quickly show you the reason why. I've just shown there the sort of car positioning you should have through the corner. If you turn in too soon, so 50 meter marker board, and you start turning in now, all of a sudden this corner is much tighter, and here's your car position. We can't see the exit of the corner. All we can see is the barrier over there on the left, and that's the direction we'll end up going in. So this is why you want to try and turn in as late as physically possible, really. Turning in too soon for this corner will do nothing but slow you down and hurt you and send you further out wide. Now, I can understand for some people it may seem a bit fucked up to go, well, I'm not getting around the corner. Why turning in later is not going to help me? Have a bit of faith, folks. It does. It means it just opens up the corner. Okay, absolutely flat out now towards turn 2. Turn 2 is probably, on this version of the circuit, the most horrible corner around this track. You're going to want to approach it on the left hand side of the circuit, and you're definitely wanting to brake sometime before the bridge. Now, unfortunately, I've not been able to pick out a specific point to brake at this particular corner. When I do a lap or two, I will see where I'm braking and see if I can find somewhere. But it is kind of one of those corners where I'm going, the red flashing brake marker indicator on my dashboard, that flashes, then I'm braking. Now, a lot of people may approach this corner and, a little bit like turn 1, start turning in somewhere around about the bridge and coming into this corner in this kind of position. The problem is, the only way you're going to make it round this corner is to go extremely slowly, because you've tightened up the corner. Like turn 1, you would end up running out wide here as the speed increases, and now we're going completely the wrong direction. So like turn 1, you want to turn in late for this corner, or what may feel late. And the reason for that is we're going to turn in late and let the car slow down and slow down and slow down around the corner, so that we can apex the curb on the second part of this corner. I mean, this is a big fat hairpin, this, and we don't want to get near the apex or near the right hand white line until towards the end of the corner. So we're going to approach on the left hand side, we're going to be on the brakes, but we want to be off the brakes preferably as we're turning in later, letting the car slow down so that we can now position the car next to this service road, and now we can already see the corner, and now we can also be on the power pushing around this corner, and there's turn 3 ready and waiting for you. So turning in later will just open up this section of corners for you, and that's why I said you may find that people are chucking it up the inside of turn 2, and what will happen to them is they will run wide and potentially hit the people that are taking the right line. And if you're taking the right line, you may get a little bit pissed off. But that's where driver experience, you gain driver experience by going, okay, I could chuck it up the inside of this corner, but it could get very messy. I'd be better off, I'd go faster if I don't chuck it up the inside of that corner, get around this horrible right-hander and left-hander, and see if I can overtake after this left-hand corner here. That'd be a better way to overtake than chucking it up the inside, losing time, and then somebody behind you that has taken the line correctly just overtakes you down here. So think wisely. Okay, turn 3, tricky little bugger. Me personally, I'm already on the power in 3rd gear, and because of my gear ratio, what I'm doing is I'm popping it up into 4th, and then I'm doing the tiniest of lifts as I turn in. That lift off the throttle changes the weight balance of the car so that I can turn in and hug this curb on the left hand side. Without the lift, I will run wide. So if you're running wide here, it may be because you're on the power too soon or trying to simply go through it too quick. Okay, so we want to be on this curb on the left. It sounds like I fucked the clutch here. And that'll again open up turn 4, absolutely flat out. And then we're heading up to 2 of my favourite corners on the whole of the Red Bull Ring circuit. But it does come with a downside. There is a pit lane coming up. I can't emphasise enough how important it can be that if you are going to pit, to be over here. If you're on the right hand side of the track, it lets anybody that's next to you, around you, know you need the pit lane, right? And then they can be aware that you might have to go slow around this corner, because if you go around this corner at full speed, you ain't making the pit lane. So bear that in mind, guys. Right, okay, approach to this corner. It's very simple, absolutely flat out. Now, a lot of people are going to brake way too late for this corner, and they're going to run wide. Now, you can do that quite quickly, frustratingly. However, a much more beautiful, a much more controlled, and a much better looking and a much better feeling way of taking this corner is approach it a little bit like turn one, get a wheel on the curb if you can, and then just before the 100-meter marker board and this white painted line, you apply your brakes. Now, you don't have to brake hard, and you don't have to brake heavy, and you probably don't even have to brake fully. But what you want to do is just brake enough to get yourself down to approximately 4th gear, keep it in as straight a line as possible, and then turn in just before the end of the AstroTurf, and your single aim is to get your car onto the curb in this position here. If you do that and you've got your car down to the right speed, this curb will help you go around the corner. And by doing it this way, you will find you can drive through this corner faster and faster and faster. And instead of exiting this corner all over the curb or way off the track, you will find, hopefully, that you will exit the corner next to this curb here, which now gives you a dead straight braking zone for the final corner. It makes the final corner a million times easier by taking the penultimate corner in the way I've just mentioned. Now, the final corner, again, a lot of people tend to brake too late and too hard for this corner. They brake way too much for this corner. You can actually get away with braking early, braking gently, dropping it down 1 gear for me, 4th, or as the tyres wear, 3rd, and be confident of your turn-in. Now, the turning point it's a bit of a tricky one. What I would say with this particular corner is, when you're practicing, you are better off turning in too soon and cutting the corner and going, okay, I need to turn in a little bit later and a little bit later until you get it right. If you approach this corner and go, oh, should I turn in? No, I'll turn in. You've already missed the corner. That split second moment of should I, shouldn't I, it's done. You've missed the corner. So be confident, turn in. If you get it wrong, that's where learning comes from. And I will try and see if I can spot a kind of turning point that I'm using for this corner. But this final corner is a very quick corner, and again, we want to be all over the apex curb, clipping the yellow sausage curb if we can. And if we position our car in this point at the right type of speed, the way the corner is cambered, it will help you around the corner, and we can already see the exit and where we're wanting to go. And this is going to allow us to then let the car run out nice and wide onto the exit curb, absolutely flat out. Okay, my tyres are stone fucking cold, so I'm going to jump back to the pits and then I'm going to drive round and see how we get on. Now, another handy tip for people, by the way, when it comes to qualifying in the Dynamic GT League, it will benefit you to do a slow out lap. If you go too slow and your tyres get cold, that won't benefit you. But if you do a slow out lap, your tyres are going to be in much better condition when you're doing your flying lap, especially if you're on the super soft tyre. And also, in the race, if you pit and come out of the pits and drive hell for leather, your tyres will not last a stint anywhere near as well as they could as if you just drive calmly and smoothly. Okay, let's go then for the Red Bull Ring short. Okay, so we're going to approach turn 1 as I said, braking just after the 150 metre marker board, getting our left hand wheels on the curb on the left. Want to be off the brakes earlier, I didn't brake enough so I had to stay on them a little bit. And I'll take the late turn-in point here. To apex here. And now we're on the power, little lift just to get it onto this curb. Without the lift it'll run wide. Okay, we're going to be on the brakes at the 100 metre marker board. Get the braking done nice and early so we can be on this apex curb like that. Okay, I've gone down to third there, could easily have done it in fourth. Not a PB, but not a bad. Okay, brake harder this time, Dave. So I can be off the brakes as I turn in, cut the corner, bollocks. But it does go to show, more than enough braking there. Go for the late turn in again to apex late. Don't have to brake a lot for this corner. Oh, not quite right, but not bad. Now if you feel like the car isn't turning halfway around that turn 2, drop it down into second gear. What I wouldn't recommend though is once you've braked and turned in, you don't want to be trying to speed up. Instead of trying to accelerate to speed up, brake less. If you find that you're needing to, or you feel you need to speed up in the corner, brake less. You know what, I think I could brake a little bit later for that corner, to be honest. I'm going to see if I can do about 130 metres. So even though I'm running wide there, I'm not trying to speed up. I was a little too wide into, a little too tight here now because of that. I don't try pushing it too much, my lift gets bigger to compensate for being slightly wider through turn 2. Not quite got on the curb, had to stay off the throttle a bit longer. Lovely line through there. Now, I am trying to have a look at where I'm sort of braking or turning for a couple of these corners. I will try and sort of point out some peripheral things I'm seeing. Okay, brake a little later. That's better. So about 130. Absolutely on the limit, but again, I was still off the brakes before I turned in. Brake indicator flashing. If you do it at the point it starts flashing, it's too soon, so you have to give yourself a 1 or 2 Mississippis. Oh, not quite making the apex. Okay, yellow markers on the left of the road. So I'll point them out. Right, the yellow, little yellow curbs. I would perhaps need to check, but from my peripheral vision, I'm turning in just after these first ones. By the time I get to the second ones, I'm already on my way into the corner, from what I can tell. So I'll keep an eye on that for a moment. turned in too soon. And because I turned in too soon, I had to stay off the throttle and take 2 stabs at turning in off the throttle, let the car slow down to apex the later part of the corner. Running a little bit wide, so I'm going to hold 3rd gear on this occasion. Okay, so keep an eye out for the yellow bollards. I'm not going to look because I need to try and make the corner. Also, this penultimate corner, turning way before the end of the curb on the left. A little wide, not bad. Yeah, the penultimate corner, turning in, I think it's about the 50-metre marker board. Didn't quite make the apex on that occasion. So even though my tyres are starting to wear a little bit, I'm just about still able to keep it going in the right direction. Okay, yeah, have a look at the turn-in points. About the 50-metre marker board, I think, here. Yeah, 50-metre marker board is where I'm turning in. Running wide, drop it to 2nd, helps tuck it in. Now you may think, well, why don't you just do it in 2nd anyway, Dave, because you're going quicker. It's not quicker. It's a recovery situation, that, rather than a going quicker situation. Stayed on the brakes a little too long, so when I turned it understeered. So even though my tyres are knackered now, I'm still making my apexes for the most part. Off the brakes, much better turning. Front left is hurting now, but gonna keep going anyway. Had to recover that. I was gonna go massively wide if I'd have tried going faster. Drop it down to 3rd gear if you need to, if the tyres have worn too much. Going down an extra gear can help the turn in. Just make sure you're not bouncing your limiter. So even though my tyres are wearing, I'm still able to take a fairly decent line. I say that as I nearly went off. But through turn 2, which is really hurting the front left tyre, I can still get a tight line through there on the exit. The tyres really have gone off now, or at least the front left has. I'm going to keep going for the moment though. Oh yeah, big time gone. Seven tenths in one sector alone. Okay, pit entry. You take it this corner as you normally would, you're way over here, and then you're going to have to turn right. You don't want that. Now, I'm not saying that this is what people have to do at the end of the day. It's up to the DGT League admins as to how they want people to drive. It's just from an F1 racing perspective, if you're pitting, the pit entry starts on this straight, not around the corner. So you would have to be over to the right hand side, and that allows cars behind you, next to you, to know that they've got to not go to the apex of this corner. So for me, it's just one of those things. If you are over to the right hand side, you're going to have to slow down a bit more for this corner anyway, and if anyone is next to you, behind you, they should know you're going to have to slow down, and because you've had to slow down, it should be that little bit easier for you to get into the pit lane here. Okay, I'm just going to go through the pits, put a new set of tyres on, and I want to mention something that I want to try and highlight something for you that I noticed maybe one of Dave the Harp's tyre wear issues, and other people may suffer from it as well. I do know that SGP, I've told this about some time ago, James Hulkenberg, I know on the commentary we mentioned that I'd helped James Hulkenberg out. Well, one of the things that I'd helped him out with, to be honest, well, there was a couple of things. One was braking earlier and not braking as hard, and another was his downshifts. Now, the thing that I told SGP and I told James, and I've also told Dave the Harp last night, is this: if you are too aggressive on your downshifts, you will understeer the car, or the car will understeer. If you add that to braking a little bit too late and braking heavy, you've now got understeer because of your gear shifts, and then you get understeer from braking too late, and you get understeer from braking too hard, so now you're killing your tyres and you're not going very quick. So what I want people to do here is to listen how I do my gear changes. Turn 1 is a very good example of it, and I do this at pretty much every single racetrack. I have a rhythm to my gear changes, and it's all about not bouncing off the limiter, controlling the speed. Okay, yeah, so have a listen out to what I'm doing when I brake, when I change gear, when I accelerate. Okay, so I did 2 laps there without talking. For anyone that really noticed, you'll have seen that I downshifted slightly different on the second lap to the first lap at turn 1. And also, at the final corner, on the first lap, I just went round in 3rd. On the second lap, I approached it in 4th and went down to 3rd halfway round the corner. Now, hopefully, what you'll have seen on those 2 laps is that I have hit the brakes, waited, then shifted, a saying that I like to call brake, wait, shift. Now, a lot of people, what they tend to do is, as soon as they've touched the brakes, bang, they're on the gears. Problem is, you hit the limiter. Now your car's overspeeding. And then you're going down the gear again and you're hitting the limiter and you're overspeeding. The car's lurching forward, right? So, brake, wait, shift. Not once in my gear shifts was I anywhere near bouncing a limiter. And the difference that that can make is absolutely enormous, right? I have 0 understeer on braking or turn in from my braking or gear shifting. So one of the reasons, like in the last race, that I got really pissed off is because I couldn't understand why I was understeering around corners. Having looked back, I was braking way too late and braking way too much. I needed my own advice in that situation. Problem was, I hadn't noticed I was braking too late. So I now know that if I'm struggling with understeer in a corner, it's from setup. It's not from my approach. It's not from my braking. It's not from my gear changes. And hopefully, I'll try and give you a couple of laps example of the difference. So doing it with a very aggressive downshifts. Obviously, I'm not going to be at full speed into turn 1 on this occasion, but okay, so this is a bit unusual for me to try and do, so I might not quite fuck it up right. And look where I am. And that's from aggressive downshifting. I braked at the same sort of point. So I am going to drive a couple of laps a bit foolish. I'm out there again, but I'm out of control on the way into the corner. Understeer, understeer, understeer. And even though the more I tried to brake there, the more I understeered. There was nothing. The only way I could have saved that would have been to have got off the brakes, got off the steering, but I'd still have ran wide, given the nature of that corner. But it's fascinating. I mean, I've been telling people about this for a while. It's fascinating for me to actually drive it because the difference is enormous. Understeer, can't get on the power. And I ended up in a gear lower on approach to the final corner because I couldn't go as quick through the corner. Now it might feel like you're going into a corner really quick. The problem is you're coming out of it shit slow and you're killing your tyres. Just to prove it, I didn't lift. I didn't do my little lift on purpose there, and that's what happens if I don't. Food for thought, folks. Now, you may struggle putting it up into 4th, doing a lift and going around the corner. If that's the case, hold on to 3rd longer. massive tyre pain. I'm out there again. I actually thought I might get it that time, but no. Oh man, the rear's kicking out because the rear's trying to lock up. And now because of that, I'm slow through these corners. Oh, it's painful. Oh, where are we going? Where are we going? Oh, I'm laughing. This is so different. The characteristics of the car are so different just from downshifting too soon. I'm still out there. Holy shit. I'm trying to stay on the road. See, and this is also why people are perhaps taking a lower gear through a corner, because if they don't, they're not making it round the corner. The problem is, by going down the extra gear to make it round the corner, you're still not solving the problem. You're just keeping it on the road and losing so much time. Okay, even with an early first shift but a slightly later second shift, I still couldn't make the corner properly. Now, just to hopefully put this into perspective, I've got about 50% gone on my front left tyre. Let's see if I can go back to driving it properly. So much easier into the corner. I ran wide, but my tyres are shagged. And interestingly enough, the way I drive, although it's now at what, 40% tyre wear left, the level of grip, although it's indicating about 40%, it's a different type of grip. If that makes any sense. Because of how abused the tyres have been, the actual grip that they're giving up is awful. Compared to driving much smoother, much calmer, the level of grip I feel I have at that amount of tyre wear gone is very different. Bit too soon on that first downshift, and look where I go. You know what, it's as odd as it might seem. I mean, as I mentioned, the gear shifting is something that I've told a few people about, because when I've been watching people, it's kind of so blatantly obvious to me, but I've never actually driven it in that style. So to actually do those few laps and physically feel the differences, it's night and day. It is night and day, and hopefully that is a little trick that may help a lot of people when it comes to tyre wear, because you wouldn't think Normally you wouldn't think that downshifting too soon is going to cause you tyre wear, but unfortunately it does. It instantly basically creates massive understeer and massive tyre wear. And as I said, if you're just braking late and braking hard, that's one level of tyre wear. If you're braking late and braking hard and you're getting understeer in the corner because your setup's not right, that's 2 levels of tyre wear. You add on to that shifting too soon and getting understeer, that's 3 levels of tyre wear that you've now got on your car, right? And if you try and fix your understeer on your car with setup, so level 2, you may be able to do part of that, but it's not going to fix level 3. So you're still going to have understeer, and it's going to lead you to thinking that you need to do more on your setup for level 2. The problem is you're going to go too far on level 2's fix, that now you're going to make the car understeer even more. So now you're actually, instead of reducing it from 3 levels to 2 levels to 1 level, you've gone up to level 4. And that is why it can be so crucial to get little things like the gear changes right. Hopefully, though, people have been able to see this and physically see it for themselves, and the difference and the comparison between the laps that I drive normally compared to being too aggressive. I mean, I was chuckling on the way into corners because straight away the car's out of control. But anyway. Right, I'm going to end this video here. Personally, I think this has probably been one of the more interesting videos that I've done, and I haven't been able to live stream it, so I am going to have to upload it onto YouTube, which is where you're probably watching this, so it's pointless me fucking saying that. But anyway, my curry is not far off ready, having been cooking for 2 or 3 hours, so I'm going to go and film my face and then probably spend the weekend shitting myself. Have a good one, folks, and I shall catch you again soon.